My name's Jake. I run the customer experience department at HackerOne, and I have very recently dove head into Claude Code, and I've been doing a ton with it, and it's kind of changed my life and the way I work. So I think Deacon and I were talking about this in person. He's like, "Hey, this would be a great opportunity for you to jump on." So that's why I'm here. And also, as far as like coding and whatnot goes, not a developer by trade. I'm definitely more on your business side, customer experience side guy. So a little bit of technical skills from working at Apple for a little bit. I was a genius there, so I did like hardware repairs. But the whole development world is somewhat new to me. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
That's awesome. Thanks. Yeah, and actually, this kind of perspective is really exactly what we want. We talked to a lot of coders too, and so we've gotten that perspective. So it's great to hear other sides of the business. We had some SEO guys come in, which was really interesting.
Nice.
Tell us a little bit about HackerOne.
Yeah, so HackerOne is a bug bounty platform. There's a bunch of them. I believe we're the largest one. We've been around for the longest. Essentially, the way it works is you have any company can join with us, put it together, whether it's a VDP, a vulnerability disclosure program, which doesn't pay out for findings, or you could have a bug bounty program, which does pay out for findings. We've had, we have, you name a company, they're likely a customer or have been one of ours. We have the U.S. Department of Defense. Just talking about bounties and whatnot for anyone that's not familiar to give like a perspective of how much you could make. I believe the largest payout on our platform was from Coinbase, and they paid out $1 million for a vulnerability. That was like obviously a huge one. So yeah, you kind of set up your own like page, like a landing page. You have a scope, so you make it really clear what domains or whatever. You could do hardware testing as well, but typically it's customers will upload domains. And the idea is it's not just penetration testing, it's, actual hackers that really want to break shit, that also want to make money. And so like the top hackers on our platform and even the mid-level ones, a lot of them, this is their career. So they're just hacking on programs and they are making a lot of money. I always make the joke when I see payouts go out, I wish I was technical. I wish I understood that because there is a huge opportunity to make money. And then I'll just say kind of what we're seeing in our space recently with AI is these kind of agentic agents come out. So we have our own pen testing agent now, an agent that kind of is finding these vulns. And it's not just all, so it's like these hackers are building their own agents now to find things. And so at scale, they're able to submit a lot more. The challenge that we're having now internally is how do we keep up with all of this added volume that I think is probably a problem across the board with a lot of places. For me in support, I'm seeing the same thing. We went from getting, X amount of tickets a month to like 3xing overnight at one point from just how much easier it is to submit support tickets now. So I think that's kind of in our world, what's kind of going on is we're shifting from this traditional, just manual hackers jumping on this and kind of looking for bugs in teams or with them by themselves, to we have actual agentic agents kind of just at all times scanning and searching for things.
Yeah, I can imagine that you're just getting a flood. So being it more in support and customer experience, and what are you guys working on internally to kind of manage that stuff?
Yeah, so super exciting. I've kind of my company has given us Claude Code. We use a bunch. We use them all. We have ChatGPT. We have everything. But just kind of unlocking the power of Claude Code and understanding how it works, and my company being able to run everything through Bedrock, or we're a security company, so security is like super super important. And I think that's what everyone was scared about. It was kind of funny for a while. It went from like, uh, you know can't use any AI at all, lock down everything, no vulnerability data, nothing. And then when we kind of figured stuff out and Claude Code got a lot better, I'll say, it was like a snap of the finger overnight. It was like, all right, here are the keys, build everything that you can, break stuff. We want to see what you can do. And I think that's just because the company's feeling a lot better from a security perspective of it not going out of bounds. Of course, we hear stories that it can do that and could do all those things. We're hoping that doesn't happen, but that's where we're at. So the use case I have right now that I've been using for the past 2 weeks is I'm just building, I just built a Slack app called Dispatch and kind of just having to do with the volume. We have this increased volume coming in. I always made the joke, we use a ticketing platform. It's like any other company you work with. You submit a ticket, you have a 24-hour wait. My agent reviews it and responds. We had these like custom set automations that would look at like literal keywords and then send you a deflection message. But we would get slammed with CSAT because half the time it's picking up keywords that have nothing to do with it and it just was not accurate at all. So I think that's what the difference we're seeing is I'm able to, me myself, as someone who's not super technical, I don't need to work with a dev team as long as I have the API keys to all these things that I'm, interacting with. We use Freshdesk at HackerOne, so that's my ticketing platform. I have an API key that allows me to point to it and look at all the data. Holy crap, it has been like unbelievably powerful where we have a channel set up for our team. It sends tickets to that channel. For now, I still have trust issues with it. So we're not just letting it automate responses out. We have human in the loop. So what my team is doing to kind of save time is they're going through these tickets that are coming through the channel. I have a couple buttons set up, approve and resolve if it's a one-time thing, edit, escalate, and it's kind of learning based on our responses. But what it does is it suggests a response. I've ingested every GitLab issue, every linear issue, our entire doc site, every ticket we've ever resolved, and it kind of looks at all that, aggregates that data, and then comes up with a suggested response. As I am with most AI, I'm unbelievably impressed with most of the responses that it has. Um, and yeah, that's kind of what we're doing to save time right now. The end goal is for high volume areas where it's super manual and there's just literally nothing we can do. A common ticket type we see is, hey, this program hasn't responded back to me. I submitted this report 2 weeks ago. What can I do? It's unfortunate, but we do not work for that program. We can definitely bump it with the program and try and get a response out, but not a ton we can do. So that was like a large chunk of our ticket volume. So the end goal is tickets like that. We don't need a human interacting with. We can get that once the confidence score gets up to like 95%. We're looking to just fully automate that to free up the agents to do more strategic work.
Well, that seems like a very impressive system already. Did you put that together with Cloud Code, or is this just kind of bolting onto your current system? Things like
Yeah,
confidence
fully.
scores and doing a little QA and the human in the loop, having automations and workflows.
Yeah, fully started from scratch. I kind of went into, I was using GPT for a while, so chat knew me very well, what type of manager I was, how I like to run things. So I kind of went in there. I actually used ChatGPT to come up with a prompt of explaining exactly what I was trying to build, what I wanted to do. And I said, hey, I'm putting this into Claude Code. I need you to come up with a killer prompt for me. It did come up with a great one. I had to tweak it along the way. But that's probably the number one thing that I love so much is as I think of these ideas, like the approve and resolve button, I just put that in today because I was approving these tickets, but it wasn't resolving them. And then that was hitting our first contact resolution. So it's like, oh, we actually need a way to just approve and resolve in the same thing because some conversations you don't need a back and forth. It's just here's the answer and we're done. So like this morning, I was able to go into Claude Code, say, hey, I need to build this button in here. It takes about 5 minutes. It does its thing, and then it restarts our poller. And then I go in, and every new ticket that's funneling in now has an approve and resolve button. So I think for me personally, someone who's not super technical in the past, a year ago, I would have had to submit a dev request with infra. I would have had to have a really smart coder kind of jump on and get with me, understand the scope, figure out what I'm doing. Just to add that button would probably be a minimum of a week, just based on how busy everyone is. But today I had it done in 5 minutes. So I think that's the biggest value is just like me being able to take ownership and actually do stuff.
That's interesting. The ownership thing is something I've been thinking about recently, but probably maybe I'll circle back on that. The one thing I'm kind of curious about for these internal tools that you guys are able to spin up so quickly, do you have, so you would usually have an infrastructure team that was managing deployments and things like that. Is that all kind of, are you able to hook directly into that now? Is it all internal? Or are you guys using external tools, or do you know how that
Yeah,
works?
no, From my understanding, it's all internal. So typically, like today, I just needed to add something to the scope of the app. So there's certain things within like the Slack API that when I go to change them, most of them I can do myself and I don't need approval. But for some of the bigger ones, that could be a security issue. Like, if I'm giving it access to actually write, not just read access, but write into systems, that's almost always going to need an approval. So what happens is I will submit that for approval, and then we have an internal like IT engineering department that will review that request, see what they want to do, and yeah,
Probably,
it's up to them to approve.
probably their AI agents reviewing on that side.
Literally, it's so funny because the amount of times we use Claude to troubleshoot Claude is is really interesting. But yeah, that's exactly it.
um, so what with your like daily stuff? I'm sure in customer service, you're keeping a lot of metrics, and you have like probably quotas and or I don't know, like are you watching how long issues take to resolve? Are these things that are like going into this from your old system or being kind of adapted into this new system?
Exactly. Yeah, that's so we used to primarily work out of Freshdesk, just like within that UI, and now we're all working completely out of the Slack app. So it's even less, there's a lot of benefits. It's less context switching, so less clicking around with the info that it has access to. When a ticket came in, we used to need to do something as simple as fill the properties field, and that would take time just to track down some of that data. And now that's all automated. When the ticket gets submitted, it just comes filled in already. So, um, yeah, I'd say metrics wise, I don't have anything fancy or any huge wins to share right now. We're like still in very early development stage, but it's funny you're asking because, I want to get credit for this. I want my VP to be pumped that I built this. So, what I added this morning was I have it tagging any of the tickets that it responds to. I just have it adding the dispatch tag to it so that when I go back and I want to do reporting on it, I can very easily pull reporting on, how many tickets we've actioned compared to, maybe 2 months ago and the improvements. So, I'd say in my company, data, 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 data is the biggest word you hear. People don't want to talk to you unless you come with data. So that's very top of mind for me.
Wow, yeah. I could see even on that analysis side, and that you could be building a lot of stuff to expose that data and get some more brownies from your VP.
Yeah, even having that, like, just another quick win, like having nothing to do with even the app, just like admin stuff, right? Where I might have automations or I don't know, something set up and they might be conflicting with one another. But within the Freshdesk UI, one of my biggest pain points was there was nowhere to ask. There was nowhere to go and look and say, okay, if I go to production with this, what am I going to break? What other things is this going to step over? It couldn't do that. And the amount of times we just have fires where you wake up one morning and you're like, holy crap, I just shipped this fix and now it broke seven other things and we have very frustrated customers or something like that. Just yesterday I could ask it to kind of, hey, take a look at all my automations. Let me know what looks messy, what I could clean up better. So I think just overall cleanliness and just like management of tasks that would have taken me hours to investigate and like track down before. I have this like little buddy that I could just message and ask to kind of try and figure it out first.
Do you so you're talking about some tasks and automations, or so you're running things um, on schedule and uh, process some of this stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Some things are being done on schedule.
So it just like takes off in the middle of the night and you have a report in the morning.
Yeah, well, see, I'm learning too. Again, as silly as this sounds, as someone who's not super technical, but I wasn't super aware of rate limits and kind of that in the developing world of, what do rate limits look like? How much can I do? So I was going nuts in the beginning because again, it was just, hey, Jake, here's the keys, build what you can. And then I was getting every few hours, hey, you've hit a rate limit of calls to the Freshdesk API. So, just kind of doing stuff like, hey, let's cache all of this data so it just lives locally or on EC2 wherever it is. Let's have it there so you don't need to make calls every time. Like I just learned that last week through this. And then yeah, kind of having saying, hey, you only need to fetch new tickets. Now that you have all of our tickets, only fetch new ticket resolutions every Saturday night at 10 p.m. when no one's online. We're a 24 by 5 operation, so weekends we're off. So yeah, stuff like that is what we're doing.
Do so when you're getting these tickets and they're coming in, are they like primarily hackers responding to a bounty request, or are they vulnerability reports, or what kind of tickets are they?
So we don't deal with vulnerability reports. We have a huge triage team for that. We just expanded recently as well. But yeah, that's triage, who's like really reproducing those vulnerabilities. The type of tickets we're getting are so we're a technical support team. We're recently taking a lot off the plates of engineering, so they could focus on these other creative tasks. So things that would have went to engineering before, for example, integrations, setting up Jira, SAML broke, you signed in and now you change the cert and no one could get in, everyone's locked out of the platform, stuff like that. That's like on the customer side, the more technical tickets we're getting. And then on the hacker side, you have everything from, a brand new hacker who just joined and just is genuinely curious of how to go about getting bugs and how this whole platform works, to hackers who are seasoned and are really upset about, hey, this program is whatever is happening, I need you to intervene. And then I don't run this team. I run the customer experience department, but the team that would deal with that is we actually have a dedicated mediation team that is specifically looking into those issues.
You mentioned that you're using Slack. So are your clients and new hackers coming onto Slack? Is that like the communication point, or is it more internal communications?
I'd say in my space, mostly internal. I should have shared. I joined HackerOne as a CSM, so I was customer facing before. I'm now in leadership, but when I was customer facing, I would have shared Slack channels where we can speak with some of our customers. But for me personally, right now, this is mainly internally. There's no customers that I have conversations with on Slack.
So are it's coming in through email or through web form?
No, they go in through a form. You have to go in through the portal. So tickets are submitted via the portal, and then with what I built, they're now coming in via a Slack channel that we have our own Slack bot. And we can do things like we can literally at this app that I created and then ask it, hey, I have this ticket. Can you please find similar tickets to this one? What was the resolution? And please suggest a reply. So it's not just getting tickets and suggesting that reply when it comes in. You can actually what's the word? Like you could communicate with it itself and ask it questions and have it search databases and whatnot.
That's cool. So internally, you have other kind of operators that are using the tool you built, the Slack bot, right?
Yeah, and the most common thing I'm hearing from my team is they're able to do more fun things right now. Like, or I shouldn't say fun, but they're able to actually spend time and investigate these deeper issues that maybe they couldn't before because the volume was just so much. They're now able to kind of answer those, lower effort issues a lot quicker, and then kind of just jump in and really track down and work internally to get some of this stuff.
Yeah, that's super cool. So I guess one of the other things is like with this being pretty fresh, um, what are some of the things that still feel kind of broken, right? Like, or maybe too risky or just confusing in general.
Um, I would say not fully answering your question, but I think where I've lucked out is a lot of these things that I want access to, there's an API key that grabs that info. So the pain point I'm running into is if I want data that's from somewhere that either A, I don't have an API key, B, I'm not allowed to grab that key, or C, one just doesn't exist. Um, that has been my biggest pain point right now is actually where to grab that data from because there's a million things I still want to do, but a lot of that information lives locally or wherever it lives within our system. and our company just isn't comfortable yet giving full access to whatever that database is. So, honestly, our team has done a great job of really kind of getting us access as it's needed. So over time, we're seeing more and more become available as I think we're able to trust it more. But that's probably my biggest pain point right now is just not being able to grab all the data that I need.
Yeah, that's it. We hear that one a lot, and I think it's for everyone. Like managing keys and integration with other systems. Um, I think to the point where a lot of people, like actually Hunter, who we were just talking to, just like, yeah, we just build it internally and we have control over it. There may be some scope issues when you're working in a larger kind of group like you are. uh, but yeah, that's interesting. Um, so I guess some of these are just kind of questions from the script, but um, there's other things I'd like to dive into. But I guess let's touch on this one first. So, what should other people learn from experience so far? I mean, besides some of those issues, what have you found some like wins in?
I think enablement, seriously, that's what I'm doing with my team right now is encouraging folks. Hey, well, so that's something too to be aware of. I feel very fortunate that my company has set it up the way it has been, security focused. That's the way it at least has been sold to us is kind of, hey, it's not going to do things, air quotes, of what it's not supposed to be doing. So we kind of just go at it with that attitude of I'm going to keep going until it tells me I can't. And it does get there. Sometimes it will actually pump the brakes when you ask it to do a request and just tell you straight up, hey, this is, against like the policy, you might want to go to compliance, whoever it is, to get approval. So for my team, I think the biggest thing, at least what I see, not even just in my company, but just speaking to peers in the industry, I see a lot of people who aren't technical that are now crushing it and making these cool apps like the one I mentioned, and will kind of discuss it with others as if they are coders and developers. And I think that scares a lot of people. Like, oh my God, this guy's so smart! Like he got it so quick. Where I have the exact opposite approach with my team because my whole team has every single one of my agents has access, and I can't do everything. I need help with documentation and whatnot. So it's literally just showing them like, hey, when you get stuck somewhere, because this is what I do. If it asks me to input something into terminal and I don't know what that is, or I don't trust it, or I don't know what's going to happen, I will literally screenshot that prompt. I will put it back to Claude and I'll say, hey, what do I do here? What, just ask it to help me.
Yeah,
And almost 100% of the time, it leads me in the right direction. It explains what it's doing. Or, I'm not someone that lives in terminal usually. So when I'm putting in this stuff in terminal, you don't always get like a response back of like, success or this is right. So that's when I'm screenshotting things and saying, did I do the thing? Can I move on now? And that will kind of just reassure me and help me along the way. So I think that would be my biggest piece of advice is, if you're comfortable with it, really failing forward, playing with it, and not being afraid to like just keep asking it questions. Because even just these 2 weeks that I've really dove in, I feel like I'm able to speak the language a little bit better and kind of at least understand what's going on in the background.
yeah, I totally agree with that, and we see that we're like a product group, so we have people that are coders, some designers, product managers, some people very technical, some not so much, and but everyone very creative, and so I'm just like, for the people that are first dipping their toes, and I'm just like, just ask the chat. It will tell you. And once people get over that first hurdle, then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, they're writing their own harnesses and like their own infrastructure, and and just like, okay, well, you guys just fast forwarded my 3 years of suffering to learn how to become a dev, but um, but it's awesome because it's just a different way to learn because you're still learning all along the way, just like you mentioned. You're you pick up things along the way and you're able to talk about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, One of the things I was kind of curious you mentioned was the human in the loop kind of steps and um, the confidence scores. Those are
Yeah.
actually, I think, those are very useful and powerful for what you're doing. I'm wondering how that works and how you guys are leaning into it. Like the trust issue is always a big issue. And
Yeah. So that was part of the prompt. I actually, when I was speaking with chat to just initially draw this up, I was saying, think about other support departments that are doing similar. I wanted the confidence score. We have another internal tool that our engineers use. And that came like that was the first time that I saw confidence scores coming back when we would submit GitLab issues, and then it would come back and say, oh, this is similar to da 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 da. And that's actually where I got the idea from. So I kind of just ask the prompt, bake that in, and then you tweak it, right, over time. So uh, I've been like tweaking the weight and kind of, if we hit approve, what does that mean? If you hit no, what does that mean? I'll be honest, the confidence scores are still something that like we're working on to get stronger. Again, we're just 2 weeks in. We've already seen like things jump from, I'd say, on average 30% to probably we're around 65, 70%, which is still super low. A lot of the times it's not super confident, but it's still spot on. So it's like kind of making sure it understands that and knows that. Um, but yeah, I think right now that's just kind of what we're looking at is teaching it. But the other thing I noticed is as you give it more data and more information to query, the confidence scores raise significantly. So we had something like 70,000 historical GitLab issues. And before I uploaded that database, that's when it wasn't doing the technical tickets very well because it didn't have the full context. And then as soon as I got that API key to GitLab and I was able to have it look at all those issues, that's when we saw it really improving on the technical scope.
I could see even there's a bit of a learning curve for the agent, and the context that you're giving it over time as it's spitting out 60%, and you're like, no, this is actually closer to 90%. If
Yep.
if it if it's able to kind of mark the human flag on that, and when it goes back and looks, it's like, okay, I was at 60, but the human said this was pretty good, so I'm feeling a little better about it. I'll boost it up to 80.
Yeah, and something we're still working on is like, it gave 80% of the reply perfect, but this one piece is definitely can't be sent and we want to edit it. How are we going to tell it that so it knows next time, hey, 80% of this was good, just let's not put that paragraph in and let's replace it with XYZ. So just like really helping it out over time.
Are you adding things to like give it a voice or some branding guidelines to its responses, or are you doing like a another in your workflow, maybe a cleanup pass to make sure no sensitive vulnerabilities or internal information is left out or put in?
Yeah, for sure. So just at a bare minimum, just in terms of tone, looking at the responses, tweaking it over time, just kind of, I don't know, seeing where we're at. I feel like it does, and I feel like this with most AIs is once it gets to know you a little bit, it does start to really nail it and get stronger over time. So even just 2 weeks in, I'm seeing it like I'm really impressed with the replies that are coming back and the tone of everything. It's like almost perfect for our customer base, whether it's a hacker or an actual customer. But in terms of the security piece, that part I don't need to worry about as much because um, we have all different, so with all these different AI tools, we have a data classification policy, and then based on which tool it is, we have certain data approved for each one. So there is one tool we have that's approved for critical data, and that's the one that you could throw the house at it. You could send anything to it, and we're okay. But it's when you configure that. So when you set up Claude Code internally here at HackerOne, it's already being built with like the way that you have to set it up with all of this security focus in mind, where it's not supposed to provide any vulnerability data or anything like that.
Sure.
So I have not seen that come through. There has been nothing even close to being like, oof, this is iffy. I can't believe it's suggesting this. But I do think that's because my data team and AI engineering team, which we actually just built that team in the last like 2 or 3 years, they crush it. And I think they've done like a really good job of trying to make sure that we're protected and knowing that you're giving this tool to people who might not have that full technical ability. So let's be careful.
That's awesome. Well, we're trying to keep these around 30 minutes for our guests, at least. So if you do need to drop, that's cool. I did have one more question if you got a few more minutes.
Yeah, so I actually do need to jump for another call, Deke, but I'm happy to hear it if you want, and I could spit something back to you real quick.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you got to drop, it was more. Okay, what's your? How do you see it changing your industry? Do you see it being doomer or maybe more optimistic?
Uh, I don't think I'm in the middle. I don't see either, and I'm very real with my agents about this too, because that's their biggest concern is, hey, we have all this awesome new AI stuff going on. This stuff is answering itself. Are we training our replacements right now? And I don't think that's the answer. Well, I don't think the answer is yes. I think it depends on the space that we're in, the issues that we're getting. They really aren't things that you could just go in and it's like a simple response, or you could look at a resolution, it's been done. A lot of these things are like things like payment issues, currency conversions, a lot of that where you just can't let like an automated system make these decisions. So that's where, at least in my space, how I'm building this and what I see for the next 3 years until anything changes is, I think human in the loop is going to be very important. And then what my team's doing as well is, not everyone is technical support. So not everyone I hire is super technical and can do those Jira integrations and SAML setups and whatnot. So we've actually upskilled any of those agents that were feeling worried about, like, oh man, my job's at risk. I care about these folks genuinely, and I don't want them to feel that way for their whole career, for the long run. So we did a whole training program. It was a 3-month program where our technical folks up leveled all of the support agents so they could at least ground level start to do some of this SAML troubleshooting, start to set up some of these Jira integrations. So I think for me, the long-winded answer there is, I think it's like a hybrid of keeping up with your skills, understanding how to use these AI tools and optimize it to the best. But then, yeah, just also kind of making sure you're staying with the flow and that you still hold value.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming in. I know you got to drop.